Hi there, my name is Steven. Welcome to the Michelin Tire Workshop. Today we're going to be going over how do we put on a new road tire that uses a tube. So what we're going to need, of course, is going to be your wheel and a new tire if you're going to be replacing the tire that you're taking off, a new inner tube if the inner tube that you currently have is flat, and some tire levers that are going to help us take the tire off. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is remove the valve cover, the valve cap. Going to let the air out of the tire if it's not already flat. Okay, so we're going to take our tire levers, and that's going to help us get the tire off of the rim. You'll see that tire levers typically comes in packs of 3. We're only going to use 2, and as you can see, the tire levers have 2 distinct sides. Okay. The first side is going to have a hook on it, and this is going to help us capture the bead so that we can pull it over the rim easily. And the second side is flat, and that will help us get the rest of the tire off once we have the bead unseated. Okay, so we're going to take the hook part, slide it underneath the bead carefully, making sure not to grab a hold of the inner tube if we're going to reuse it. And we're going to take the other one and do the same. Now you're going to want to make sure that you don't put it where there's going to be any spokes, and also that it's not too far apart or else it's not going to work very well. So you take both at the same time and you see that it clacks off nicely. So we'll take out one side, leaving the other side in. Now we're going to take the flat edge, and we're just going to take that and go around the tire, slide it in there, and as we go around the tire, it comes off nice and simply. Okay? So now that we have that off, we're going to take the tire, push it over so that we have the valve that we can take out. Take the valve out and just pull out your inner tube, and you're good to go. Now, if you're going to be replacing the inner tube only, you still want to make sure that you're checking the tire and the rim to make sure there's no damage to the tire or the rim, or there's no contaminants in there, okay? So what I typically like to do is I'll just take the tire completely off. So the easiest way to do this, and 100% of the time, is you take the tire, you put it on the floor, grab it, and just push down, and that way the tire comes off nice and neat, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is check my rim, make sure that the rim tape is intact, that there's no holes or cracks or creases or folds. Over time, this can wear into the inner tube, and then you're going to be replacing your inner tube sooner than you want to, okay? So you just look at the entire way around. This one's pretty new, so I know it's okay. And then if you're going to reuse the tire, you're going to do the same thing with the tire. You're going to make sure there's no contaminants in there, no dirt, no pieces of glass that are sticking through or anything else like that, okay? So I'm actually going to replace this tire. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to grab my new Michelin Power tire. Take off the rubber band. I'm going to shake it out, put it into its natural round form. Now there's a couple different schools of thought on how you need to mount a road tire. The first thing you need to check is it a directional tire? Sometimes you actually get directional tires, and if there is, you need to make sure that, of course, you mount it in the right direction of rotation. After that, you can take your valve and mount it either with logo, so that it's easy to find where the valve is. If you ever have to find it out, it's raining or something like that alongside of the road, and you're trying to figure out where's my valve, well, it's right there next to the logo. So I'm going to find my valve hole, and I personally like to do it with the logo because that's the way the pros do it, and it makes me look a little bit more pro. It's a little personal preference, okay? So as you noticed, I put the entire wheel inside the tire. It makes it easy for me to start to mount just one bead. So I'll start and I'll just mount one bead on, going around the tire, and usually the first bead is the easiest one to mount, so that went pretty well. And there we go. Okay, so you've got the first bead mounted, and now we're going to want to take that inner tube and get the inner tube in there. So when you take an inner tube out of the box, you'll see that it's very flat and it's a little bit stuck together, okay? So you're going to want to shake that out, and actually the inside of it's a little bit glued, so it's going to make it very difficult to try to put inside of the tire unless you put a little bit of air in it. So I'm going to take off the valve dust cap, pressing the valve stem a little bit to break it in. I'm just going to put a little pump of air in it. Just so that it takes a little bit of form. And the golden rule is, if you can put your finger on it and it's got a nice crease on the top, then you've got enough air in it. So I've actually got a little bit too much. So I'm going to do just like that. And now I've got the correct amount of air in there so that I can put it in and minimize my risk of pinch flats as I'm mounting this tire. Okay, so I'm going to close that up. And I'm going to start by mounting the valve on the rim. Now, we're going to take a lot of time and attention making sure that the inner tube is mounted correctly in the middle of my tire. This is a lot of times where people will do something, they'll get a little bit excited, it's cold, it's raining, they're in a hurry, and 5 kilometers down the road they're flat again because they didn't mount the inner tube quite in the center and they pinched flat. Okay, with everything here in place, now I'm going to start at the opposite end of my valve stem, and I'm going to put the bead in like this. I'm going to work my way around the wheel symmetrically, doing both sides at the same time, and making sure that the tire is nice in the center until I get to the valve side. And there we have it. Okay, so now that it's in here, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you take that valve stem and you push it up to make sure it's not pinched. This is the most likely place that you're going to get a pinch because it's the last part that goes on. And once it's on, just do one last turn around the wheel to make sure that everything's seated in there, making sure that you don't have any inner tube sticking out. And now you're ready to pump it up. So what I'd like to do is I pump it up to the maximum pressure, making sure that the tire is well seated against the rim, which I will do. Okay, and with the tire pumped up to the maximum pressure, you want to give that wheel a spin, taking a look at it to make sure that it's well mounted, there's no imperfections, there's no inner tube sticking out, and this one looks like it's well done. So now if you don't want to run your tire at the maximum pressure, you just lower the tire pressure to what you want to run it at, and you're good to go. So happy riding to you, and hope this has been very informative.